Wolfman, which was released in theaters December 12, 1941, and this would be a movie that would soon become a Universal Pictures classic, and would make the concept of the werewolf very famous, and would make the Wolfman one of the iconic Universal Pictures monsters. Yes, the Wolfman joined the ranks of Dracula, Frankenstein's monster, and the Mummy, and much like these other monstrous characters, the Wolfman is so well known and iconic that you don't even have to watch the movie to know exactly who he is. And that is tremendous marketing.
Monster marketing!
Sorry. The Wolfman movie is often regarded as the granddaddy of all werewolf movies, even though there are numerous films that predate the Wolfman. Wolfman quickly became a powerful on-screen character and one of the iconic movie monsters, most especially for Universal Pictures, in which the Wolfman became a powerful cash cow. So powerful, in fact, that the Wolfman would be treated to multiple sequels, but not without the help of his friends, and the Wolfman would never have a sequel all to himself. They all include other monsters. And these sequels would be one of the first examples of not only a cinematic universe, but also cinematic universe crossovers, and would further establish the Wolfman as one of the big three Universal Pictures monsters. So the Monsturios trifectum would always be Dracula, Frankenstein's monster, and the Wolfman. And these three monster BFFs would be featured in all of the Wolfman sequels, with the exception of Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, which was released in 1943, and then there's The House of Frankenstein, which was released in 1944, to be followed up by
The House of Dracula,
which was released in 1945, followed by Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein, which was released in 1948. Now, the jury is still out on whether or not Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein is a true sequel. I mean, it kinda is, and if you'll notice, all of these Wolfman sequels are not just sequels to the Wolfman, but also sequels for Dracula and Frankenstein, as they continue the storylines for all three characters, with the exception being Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman, as it does not include Dracula. All of these Wolfman movies would find immortality on VHS, and all of them were released as part of the Universal Monsters Classics Collection. And I've talked about this collection a lot in previous adventures, and I'm not going to talk about it again. The Wolfman was released as part of the first wave of this collection in 1991. Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman was released as part of the second wave in 1992, as was House of Frankenstein. And House of Dracula was released as part of the third wave in 1993. And this would be the only time that both House of Frankenstein and House of Dracula would be released on VHS. And so was the case for many of the other monster movies in this collection, because many of them didn't see the light of day since they were first released in theaters. And that is what's great about this collection, is that it brought many of these forgotten about movies back into the public spectrum. I'm not saying I don't like this collection, I'm just saying I'm tired of talking about it. Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein were never part of this collection. Neither were any of the Abbott and Costello Meet the Monster movies. I'm not sure why, because those movies were always a hit and they made Universal Pictures a lot of money. I just think it's quite a shame that those movies are not part of that collection, even though they really should be. But nonetheless, Abbott and Costello Meet Frankenstein was released quite a few times on VHS. The first release was in 1988 by MCA Home Video, and then it was released in 1990 by MCA Universal Home Video, and then it was released in the year 2000 by Universal Home Video. The Wolfman on VHS did have a life before the Universal Monsters Classics Collection, most notable being the 1987 distribution, when it was released as part of the Gene Shalit's Critics' Choice Collection, which was a VHS collection that was an assortment of movies that Gene Shalit just thought were the bee's knees. The Wolfman would be released again in 1990 by MCA Universal Home Video, this time without the help of Gene Shalit. And the Wolfman on VHS would even have a life after the Universal Monsters Classics Collection, because Universal would once again release a collection of monster movies in 1999, only this time it was way smaller and only contained the A-list of monster movies. And the Wolfman, being an A-lister, was part of this collection. Frankenstein Meets the Wolfman would first be released on VHS in 1986 by MCA Home Video, and it would be released again in 1990 by MCA Universal Home home video. So are any of these worth a lot of money nowadays? Well, in a word, no. All of them, and I mean every single one of them, are very easy to find and go for an average around $3 to $9.